Hello, everyone.
We're back.
Yes, this is episode 2 of And Rolling.
Rolling. Very nice, very nice.
Yes, hopefully there'll be an actual sound to that. We have an editor this time. We're really moving up in the world, so you know how it is. What did we see today, Maddie?
We saw Wicked
Whoa.
1.
Yeah, which, okay.
So I guess we should say that I have seen the musical several times, but Matthew has never seen the musical.
No.
And so he was going in blind. And you've only seen The Wizard of Oz twice, is what you said earlier,
Yeah,
right?
something like that. I was like 8 years old when I saw it.
So
I mean, I know what happens in The Wizard of Oz. It's not like a complicated story to follow, so.
I feel like it's almost those videos where it's like, I know the words, and I don't. And that's kind of what we did.
Yeah, no, it's true. Okay, I like this movie. I'm just putting that out there, but I do have some gripes with it.
Ooh, okay.
Because, okay, this could also be when we saw it, because we saw it at 10 p.m.
We did. It was a later showing.
And I thought that we'd be getting out of there at like 12:30. We got out of there at like 1:30 because this movie is long. And what was the first thing I asked you when the movie ended?
You were like, did they split this into 2 nights like the way that Harry Potter and the Cursed Child does? And I said, no, that was just Act 1. And he got very concerned that this was like a 5-hour play. And I had to explain, no, they've elongated a lot of things in this first movie. But let's give the little summary in case there are other people like you who didn't know. So Wicked follows, it's a prequel to The Wizard of Oz, and it follows the Wicked Witch of the West, who's Elphaba, and Glinda, who is the Good Witch. And they meet at university, and they hate each other, but they're roommates.
And they were roommates.
And they become friends over time, and they discover that the magical talking animals of their world are being silenced and forced to leave, and they're being hunted down. And so they go to see the wizard because Elphaba can do magic. They go to see the wizard to ask for his help. And while they're there, they find out that the wizard is the one who's changing the animals. And
whoa.
Yeah. And
he was the bad guy the whole time?
Where we leave off is Elphaba kind of breaking free because she won't stand by. She's going to fight for animals. And that's where the movie ends.
Yep.
So now continue with your gripe list.
No, I mean that honestly that was my biggest gripe. So this is my thing is the music is great. The visuals are great. I thought the cinematography was really good. I thought that the characters were really good. Well, I thought that why can't I think of her name now? The girl who plays Elphaba.
Cynthia Erivo.
Cynthia Erivo is by far the strongest part of this movie. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know she's got some controversy behind her, but she's by far the strongest actor in the film. And I personally feel like everything was an appropriate length, and now I'm kind of like, I know what I'm trying to think. I'm like, this is an intermission for a show. If I was in a theater production, I think I'd be like, oh yeah, this is the intermission, and then we have like another maybe hour left, 45 minutes to an hour left, and like that will just be the falling action more or less, because I feel like we really hit the rising action. I'm kind of like, I don't feel like there's a lot of resolution left. There's a couple loose ends with the romance dude with Anthony from Bridgerton. And
Jonathan Bailey plays Fiyero.
And there's that, and like that's it. If you've seen Wizard of Oz, you know what happens to the witch. Like she dies.
Well, there you have it. Will you not go see the part 2?
I will see the part 2 because you're gonna see the part 2.
I am gonna see the part 2.
But I don't know if I would have seen part 1 in general. And I'm kind of, hear me out. It feels, I guess I haven't seen the show. But now the problem is I don't want to see the show until part 2 comes out because I don't want the spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
And see, this is a problem that I have, is now I don't want to see part 2. But then I also feel like because of the way that the resolution is, I feel like part 2 it seems like this is a cash grab to split it into 2 parts, because I'm like, I feel like we could have just done it all in 2.5 hours, 3 hours.
So I will pause here and just say that I saw Wicked for the first time. I think I was maybe 8 years old or 10. And I've seen it several times since in different cities and locations. And I've always loved Wicked. I was a big Wicked girl. So I had a lot of thoughts and expectations going into this movie, and I felt like most of what I wanted was hit. And we'll go into like my own thoughts a little later, but I just want to say that like I was curious, knowing the whole plot of the musical and knowing like what Act 1 entails and what Act 2 entails. I was very curious what would be added to make it such a long movie for just Act 1. And I
guess what was added?
Well, okay, so several scenes, again, when I said, like, it felt more like an elongation, which I think speaks to how seamlessly they added material. Right off the bat, like, some of the childhood scenes with Nessa and Alphaba, you don't see that. You see Alphaba be born. You see, you get a little bit of the backstory about why her father like didn't like her and all of that, but you don't see her being taken care of, and you don't have any kind of interaction with her and this like nursemaid bear.
Okay.
That's new. There were several moments in songs where they would kind of add more orchestration and pull things a little longer. That happened, I clocked it in The Wizard and I, definitely in Dancing Through Life, that whole middle section. There is an orchestra break in Dancing Through Life, but this was a lot longer.
I did notice some of that because sometimes I was like, oh my God, the song, I was like, wow, that's a really short song. And then the song kept going after like 5 minutes of talking.
Right. So there were things like that. And then the lessons that she has with Madame Morrible, you don't see much of that in the musical in the same way. Like, they're really just pulling things through. The thing with Dr. Dillamond, the goat, and she follows him home, that doesn't happen. That song happens in the class.
Oh.
Yeah. There was this whole thing where Dr. Dillamond's class is interrupted and Alphaba helps him when something's broken, and I was expecting something bad to happen then, but instead there was a good chunk of time in between where Alphaba follows him home and she hears him talking to other talking animals. And they start the song where Dillamond is not even singing to Alphaba. He's singing with other animals. And then it pauses and she comes in. They sing a little bit more. So again, like, they're breaking up songs. They're doing a couple of changes, but it actually all works to further it deepens your understanding of Alphaba's character or the political situation happening. The section, and this is a major spoiler, that there are some cameos in the Emerald City.
I knew that those were cameos.
I know.
Okay.
I'm saying for our listeners.
Oh, okay.
That it had me like gripping the side of the armchair. I was not expecting it, but I've stayed away from a lot of spoilers leading into this. I really didn't want to know much. And when I saw who they were, I was like clutching your leg, very excited. But that whole section, that's not really
the whole Emerald
out.
City thing?
No, the Emerald City is, but the mythology section is not fleshed out in that way.
Where they explain it?
Yeah, where they're like only like the prophecy.
Why? Wait, then how do you know about the grimoire and everything? Do they just explain that when you see the wizard in the play?
I don't even know. Okay, so it's been a couple of years. Like, the last time I saw the musical was, I think, in 2016. I don't remember if they even really bring up the grimoire. I know that they have it because, like, the book, one year for Christmas after we saw it, I got the behind-the-scenes making of the musical book, which was called The Grimmery or The Grimoire. So I know that that was part of the, like, vocabulary of the show, but I don't remember them having like that mythology section, so I'm really not sure if that's fleshed out. And that could have been something that was on the chopping block when the show was in previews and like workshops. Like, that could have been something that the creative team had come up with but had chopped. So it's just, you know, those moments where they're adding things to serve the plot, to deepen the story, which I thought went really well. You know, I have a lot of things that I love that have been adapted that I haven't thought really made sense.
Like what?
Well, even, I mean, let's not even get into Percy Jackson, but like...
Oh, well, yeah, but I was thinking specifically musicals.
Okay, I wasn't thinking specifically musicals.
Okay.
I was just saying
No,
things
I can name
that I
you.
love.
Yeah, I can name you a bunch
Like
of things that are terrible.
even recently, Matthew and I have been watching the Harry Potter movies, and even in the 7th movie where Harry and Hermione dance around, and the director was like, we wanted to show that they couldn't make it as like love interests. I'm like, yeah, it's like a good, I don't know, it's weird. But in this case, I felt like everything made sense to be added. And really, I think if you're like me and you've seen it a lot, but maybe not seen it recently, sometimes it was hard to even clock like, oh, that's an addition, or oh, did they add like a stanza here that wasn't in the actual score originally?
I think that's why I was like, is this a 2-day show? Yeah,
and again, to their credit, you fully believed that all of that could have been in.
Oh, yeah. I mean, because I was kind of like, how did they piece it together? Like, how did they extend this so much? Because I was like, I know the songs, some of them, not all of them, but I knew some of the songs. And then I'm like, they didn't seem super long, but I'm like, sometimes you could tell that they broke it up, and I was like, okay, maybe there was some stuff there, and like for visual flair, there was like they elongated sections and scenes and stuff, but I was like, what? So they've literally added like whole scenes to the show.
Yeah, there are some scenes that are added.
Yeah, and see, that's just something that but then the other thing is, I'm like, for a musical, I give this movie credit because it feels more like a movie than a musical, in my opinion, because there's music in it. Like, it's clearly a musical, but like it's a movie musical where like there are long sections of talking and not singing. Whereas I feel like in a musical, more or less, it's almost constant singing, or at least that's a good musical usually.
Well, I mean, it depends on the type, right? So like Les Mis, that's more of an opera, like an operetta or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
And so that one, you get very little actual dialogue. Phantom of the Opera, same thing. They're like rock operas, musical operas. And so
like Cinderella and stuff too, or
you mean the Rodgers and Hammerstein?
Yeah.
That's more of a traditional musical.
But I feel like there was almost no talking in that musical.
There was more than in Les Mis.
I mean, I feel like in Cinderella, it's like 3 sentences and then they go back into a song. In this movie, there were like whole talking scenes.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Which is not very musical of the musical in that sense, is what I'm saying.
Okay, I don't agree with that, but it's just a different kind of, like, a different genre, if you will.
That's fair. I mean, I think what I'm saying is I thought that it lent itself to a good movie.
Yeah.
If that's
I think
sense.
It's really reminiscent of, like, the golden age of movie musicals, so, like, Singing in the Rain.
Yeah.
And honestly, The Wizard of Oz. You know, it made a really good use of the medium.
Yeah.
And I thought the cinematography was great. I know a lot of people in the last week or so have been talking about how the choreography is really catered to the camera. And I agree.
Yeah.
Like, you were in the perfect place almost at every turn to see what was happening and like the really cool dance moves. I will say that the choreography reminded me very much of like Kenny Ortega, High School Musical, Disney Channel type choreography. But if it were like a step up.
You know what I liked about some of the cinematography in this is intimacy of some of the scenes. Because like when they're talking about, oh, tell me a secret right before they're about to sing Popular. And like they fall onto the bed.
Yeah.
And it's like you see their faces on the bed. And it's like that would not happen in a theater setting because it'd be impossible. You know, like maybe they would be laying on a bed or something, but like you wouldn't get those close-up visuals.
Sure.
Which I thought was really cool and a really good use of the medium.
I actually think that segues to my gripe list really well.
Interesting. Okay.
So obviously everyone who is in this cast can sing incredibly well. The showing that, hold on. The main part of the cast.
Okay.
I do have some amendments to that statement. But the showing that we saw, I felt like the sound was too soft.
The sound was bizarre.
It was so soft.
No, that was something with the theater. there was something going on with that theater because in that How to Train Your Dragon trailer, that theater was pumping. It was shaking. And then they like cuts to this musical and it's like, and I'm like, oh my God.
So when we left, I was like, okay, potentially my issue is just that the mix was off. And like, I was thinking, oh, I wish I were watching this at home because we have like a really good surround sound system and I could bump it up as much as I want. But then I listened to it today because we got home at like 1:30. We were not recording this then. So I was listening to some of it today just because there was something that just irritated me a little bit. And irritate's a strong word, but like truly it just kind of like, it was like poking at me. And I think the vocals, they sound incredible, but they're recorded to be intimate. When you're on stage and you're trying to fill up like a whole theater, your voice has to be strong. Even in the soft moments, it's got to have some oomph to it. And obviously I've spent like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know, potentially 20 years listening to Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth and everything. And that recording has a lot of power behind the vocals. And the vocals for this recording, they sound great. I love the choices, but they're whisper singing in a lot of it. Madame Morble.
But you know what, though? You know what the weird thing is? When they come in as the cameo in the Emerald City, they're powerful in that scene.
Yes.
Like, they're vocals, in terms of vocals.
I think it's potentially whoever the vocal coach is for the show. Because, yes, the cameo portion, very strong, very, like, forceful vocals. They sound good. Like, it's not, I'm not saying forceful in a bad way, but,
no,
like,
I know what
there's
you mean.
a lot of strength.
Right.
And a lot of, like, I don't know, just belt behind it. But okay, Madame Morble, I love.
She cannot sing.
She is whisper singing, and it's just skating by.
She cannot sing.
But even Ariana and even Cynthia in Cynthia especially, I felt like The Wizard and I, which it's
Really?
the I Want song. Yes, it is like I never fully got the emotion, the raw emotion. Nothing felt raw.
That's interesting. Who do you think's a better singer then between the two?
Oh, between Ari and Cynthia?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think one's better than the other.
Really? Because I think that Cynthia's better than Ariana.
Okay.
Hear me out, since we're talking about the vocals. I thought that Cynthia did a fantastic job, and the entire time I was like, okay, yeah, maybe it's a little bit more intimate, like you're saying, but I thought it made sense for a movie, and I felt that her acting, I was like, this is clearly a person who has performed on Broadway. You know what I mean? Like, this is a person who has done live musical theater.
So has Ariana.
When? Really?
Yeah.
Because I feel like her vocals, it's just whispers. Like, that's how she...
Even in, like, Popular? You thought that for Popular?
No, not in Popular, but, like, just in general. Like, I feel like her voice is just like a... kind of voice.
I guess.
You know, I've had that criticism of her since she came onto the scene back on the Disney Channel days. Like, I'm just like, or Nickelodeon. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say
she's a Nickelodeon person.
Fake fan over here.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but like that's my complaint.
Right. Well,
but
okay. I like both of their voices. I think they're both incredibly talented. But I felt like Popular, I saw a bit of oomph behind Ariana's vocals.
Yeah, that's fair.
But like Loathing, again, this I can't overstate how much I listened to this soundtrack as a kid, and Loathing was such a fun, like, that's the first Wicked song I ever heard, and it made such a lasting impact. And then I listened to this over and over and over again, and I just have some expectations that I'm gonna hear like a lot of anger, a lot of like rage almost, or just passion. And I felt like I was missing a lot of passion. And in Wizard and I, there's a certain level that I expect of like desire, like unadulterated, raw desire. And everything felt contained. And I think that that's obviously when you're singing, you want to sound good all the time. But I think sometimes you can sacrifice sounding perfect for sounding emotional.
Yeah.
And I wanted a little bit more emotion in the tone and in the volume. And part of that, I think, is the mixing, because it just felt like the vocals were really soft compared to the backtracks.
Yeah.
But that was my biggest complaint, was that I just felt like the vocals lacked some passion that I really expect from these songs.
Yeah. I think that's fair. Well, you know who else is a horrendous singer, and I can't believe they have him in this movie? Fucking Jeff Goldblum.
I knew exactly. Okay, I knew exactly who you were going to talk about.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah, no, I've always hated Sentimental Man, and actually, it's funny. During Sentimental Man, I leaned over to Matthew and I said, this song is my least favorite song, and this is a great bathroom break. And as soon as I said that, some guy in front of us stood up and walked out. And I said, yep, he knows what's up. I will say, too, we were the only people in our row, so I did not feel bad whispering. There was no one near us to hear. And actually, I will say, to our theater's credit, no one sang. I've seen a lot of stuff.
I said before we walked in that if people started singing, I don't know what the fuck I would do. Because, like, I think that would have ruined the experience for me. I'm going to be honest. Because, like, I'm sorry, it's not acceptable to go to a musical theater and start belting out the songs. And it's not acceptable at a movie theater, even if the people can't hear you.
You know how I feel about this. So I do perform some, and I noticed that after COVID, a lot of audiences feel like everything is like a comedy show or a drag show where you can just kind of yell things out as you like. And that bothers me to no end.
Yeah, no, I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah. So, no, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Luckily, our theater did not have that problem.
No.
Everyone was very quiet, very respectful, very mindful, very demure.
Yep.
But visually, yes, Jeff Goldblum, great energy for the wizard during the acting parts.
Yeah, I think he plays a good wizard.
Yes.
I think he's a shit singer.
Yeah. And again, I'll just say, I never liked those songs. I don't care for the wizard's songs, and still don't. You know, nothing changed.
Yeah. Well, you know who I thought a real standout star besides Cynthia? I think she was the best by far.
If you say Bach.
No, not Bach. Although I thought he did a fine job, I guess. Whoever that is who's playing that man.
Yeah, it's Ariana's new boyfriend, Ethan Slater.
Is it really?
Yeah.
No way.
He was married when they started filming. And yeah, whole thing. He just had a baby, and then he got divorced, and now he's with Ariana.
Classic situation.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm surprised you hadn't heard about that.
I knew that she and Cynthia were both home wreckers. I did not know the story behind the home wrecking. I didn't know the lore.
I don't know anything about Cynthia's.
I know that she's a home wrecker. That's all I know.
Okay.
I've heard it down the rumor mill.
Ah.
And by that I mean TikTok. So.
Ooh, well, that is the rumor mill.
Yeah.
But Jonathan Bailey.
Bailey, bro.
My man.
Dude, that guy. That guy. He can play a very desirable man.
Oh yeah.
Real well.
Oh yeah.
There is something about the way that he looks and talks
and sings
where it's just like,
and dances.
And dances where it's just like there is nothing. Actually, it is overtly sexual, but it's not. It's crazy.
Oh, I know.
I don't know how he does it.
I know. I left and I was like, "You've charmed me." Even more than I was. So we are Bridgerton fans in this household, and
just season 2 onward.
Yeah, Anthony and Kate's season is our favorite,
mm-hmm.
and I walked away even more charmed than I was before. And I cannot get his version of Dancing Through Life out of my head. I will say I felt like his emotion and texture of song fit my expectations more. That was kind of what I expected from a Fiyero.
And this is the other thing that I loved the choreography and the cinematography for
Dancing Through Life.
I don't know if they do something similar like that on Broadway.
I'm not really remembering the specific choreography.
But because it's basically these cylindrical bookshelves.
I
don't really know how to describe it.
I don't think they do that in.
But it's
show.
It's so smooth.
Yes.
And I'm like,
no,
whoa, this is crazy. And it's like him and everyone else around. It's like, this is awesome.
Apparently, you remember that one take where the guy does a flip over the camera?
Yeah.
That's one take.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Crazy.
That's impressive, honestly.
I know. Yeah, no, it's
this is my thing. I'm like, this is not a bad movie because there's a lot of technical aspects about this movie that I really enjoy, and the music's really good, and the story's decent, I think.
I walked away from part 1 being like, truly, I don't think I really could have asked for more. I know that I've said like I have a gripe. It's small. I still think it sounds good.
Yeah.
It just didn't fit what I envisioned, but that doesn't make it bad. It just makes it different.
But I think that this is a problem with every movie musical adaptation, is that every single time that people get out of a movie musical adaptation, they're always like, that isn't what I expected. Because, I'm sorry, these movie actors just suck. Like, compared to the actual Broadway actors. The Broadway actors are better. And the fact that they don't put them in these positions is mind-boggling to me. And there's a few, like, Cynthia Erivo is obviously a Broadway actor mainly, and she does a great job. And, like, Ariana Grande is a children's actor, honestly, and a singer, professional singer, doing this. And, like, I feel like that's the case with every movie musical that I see, generally speaking, unless the people where I'm like, oh, they're the strongest part. It's like, oh, they did play them on Broadway or something like that. Like Renee Rapp in Mean Girls.
Well, I guess, what do you think about Jonathan Bailey then? Because I thought he did a great job.
There's exceptions. There's always, like, Anne Hathaway in Les Mis is amazing.
She also got her start in musical theater. She just didn't do like Broadway.
Right, but that's what I'm saying.
Her background was musical theater.
It's like...
But so is Ariana's. That's, I guess, my point is like she...
But my thing is, I don't know. I just feel like... I don't know. I just feel like her vocals just aren't as strong as Cynthia's, in my opinion.
Okay. I mean, you keep saying that. I won't agree. I like their vocals. I know you won't. Both.
I'm just saying. But I'm like, I think that this is a problem with movie musical adaptations in general, is that people are always consistently, one of the criticisms is always, it did not match XYZ expectation.
Well,
I think that's a problem with the transition of the media.
Okay.
Source.
I guess I'm just saying, like, my not met expectations aren't even that much of a problem.
Yeah.
I was still very, very happy with it. I will say Bowen Yang took me out almost every time. Like, I could not see him as anybody other than Bowen Yang.
I know. I didn't realize he was in this movie. Okay, so I knew that him and Ariana did that podcast.
I knew that they were like friendly, but I actually never put it together that he was in the movie either.
No, because he was talking. He was like, "Oh, like during Wicked, did you do this?" and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, "Oh, this is just the podcast interview."
I thought he was just a fan.
I know. I was like, "Oh, he's just really invested." And like, they're kind of friends.
I did not know. I don't know.
I didn't know they were colleagues.
I didn't realize he was.
Yeah.
But then every time I saw him, I was like, SNL guy. There you are.
He plays the same character all the time, even on SNL, I feel.
Oh, okay.
That's Bowen Yang for me. You know what Asian comedian I would love to see take Bowen Yang's face?
Oh, yeah.
Aaron.
Yeah.
Is it Aaron Yang? Is that his name?
I don't know his last name.
Oh, what's his last name?
He's on Fisk.
He is on Fisk.
He's an Australian guy.
And he has the most awkward,
so funny,
dry sense of humor I think I've ever seen in my entire life. He is very funny.
Let me look it up.
You got to look that up. No, but I think that he's very funny. But I guess Anthony from Bridgerton is the standout for me. And I will keep referring to him as that.
Aaron Chen.
Chen. Oh.
Yeah. Oh, he's so funny. Yeah. I agree with all of that.
Mm-hmm. You know what my big gripe is as an accuracy nerd? It really bothered me when Alphaba gets the broom and she starts flying and she goes like fucking supersonic and her like she just sings like her eardrums are gonna be intact from that shit. Like I'm like she should be bleeding. Arguably her head should have exploded from how fast she was going. Like
she's magic, babe.
Yeah, I guess so.
She's magic.
I guess it's all magic.
What did you think of Peter Dinklage as Dr. Dillamond's voice?
That was Peter Dinklage?
Yeah.
But he's British in that, right?
Yeah.
No
I mean,
idea.
he spent like 10 years doing Game of Thrones.
No, I know. And I mean, I'm going to be honest. Anything that Peter Dinklage does is pretty good.
Yeah.
Even, okay, this is a side note. A Peter Dinklage side note. Do you know the game Destiny? I've told you about Destiny, developed by Bungie.
Sure.
Okay. When Destiny first came out, there's this robot that you have called a ghost, okay? And he would narrate things. And they gave him the direction of being as dry in his delivery as possible. And so there's a really notorious clip where he goes, "That creature came from the moon." And that's how he says it. And everyone was like, it's so bad, blah, 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 blah. And then they replaced his voice actor, and it was even worse. And that's why I'm like, nah, bro, Peter Dinklage is a G. Like, anything he does is good. Like, and you shouldn't touch it because it's exactly what you're looking for. You just don't know it.
Really relieved that it wasn't James Corden, because it could have
God,
easily been him,
Oh.
or Lin-Manuel Miranda could have also easily been him.
Would
have been so scary.
I really hope that Lin-Manuel Miranda is just like really preoccupied with all of his BS Disney arrangements that he has. Like, I hope he's like really busy filming Hermes in season 2 of Percy Jackson or something.
Well, I really do hope for that, because that just means more Percy Jackson on the way.
Sure, but like, you know what I mean? Like, I just, or like Moana live action is just taking a really long time to film, and he's just, just really struggling.
Moving us away from the cast, I will say I loved the vaudeville aesthetic and the Art Nouveau aesthetic.
Yeah, it's good.
Which, there's some of that, I think, in the show, but they really expanded on it here. And I loved the scale of the sets and the detail.
Can I talk about, hold on. Yes, I agree with everything. Sorry. You finish up with your set rant, and then I have a new rant.
So I love pretty movies, and that's like a kind of genre that I have for myself, that maybe I just want to watch a pretty movie. And I think John M. Chu is so good at pretty movies, because I also love Crazy Rich Asians, which he directed, and that's another
that's the same
classic.
director?
Yeah, classic
this
pretty
makes sense
movie.
now. Yeah.
And I felt like this was one of those too. I saw some criticism, like even before the movie came out, about the color scale of the film, and
No,
I didn't really mind it.
I didn't mind it
in
at all.
person, and I didn't
It felt
think,
like the Wizard of Oz from back in the 40s.
Well, it did not feel that way, because that was Technicolor.
No,
and
but
that was so vibrant.
Okay, I felt the same vibe personally.
I mean,
so.
that's good. I think the idea of Wicked the musical is based on a book. I don't know if you know this.
I know it's a whole book. There's like 8 books or something like that.
Yeah, and they are weird and dark.
They're all just government criticisms.
Much more adult than the play.
Yeah.
The musical. But the musical is still supposed to be kind of like grittier than The Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz is like Oz propaganda, and through the lens of a child. And so it's really, washed down. I think that we had a lot of good color, a lot of really interesting shots, beautiful sets, but it still felt a little more grounded in some reality.
Yeah. Okay, this is a good transition, obviously, because you're like, oh, it's more adults. Bruh, the people of Oz might be the most racist pieces of shit I think I've ever seen in my entire life. Like,
Pop off. Yeah.
They're like sitting there, and like, if you replace, like, we're just gonna go flat out. If you replace that goat with like a slave or something, and like he could have been in the shit beat out of him, and I think that the students would just be staring at him like, oh, okay, that's cool. That's what was happening to that goat, bro.
Right.
They were
intentionally. That's
I know, and they were just like, yeah, okay, woo, and it's like, bro, you gotta be kidding me. Like, that's insane. And all the students are just like, oh, yeah, the history, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, no one has critical thinking. Honestly, it's the reason that we're kind of doing this podcast, because it's like they are so media literate in the world of Oz. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? What is going on with you people? It's bad. And I know that's supposed to be like a critique on the American populace and blah, 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 blah. But I'm like, wow, it is like
I was gonna
really
say,
bad.
Unfortunately, that descent feels closer than ever right now.
I get what you're saying. I'm just like, it doesn't seem like there's a healthy 50% to counterbalance it. It's like everyone is blindly like, yes, Oz, yes, Wizard, woo, blindly. Every single person.
Well, isn't that kind of the whole point of a story like this? It's exaggerated a little bit for effect.
Yes. I think the key words there were a little bit. I feel like it was exaggerated a lot, personally. And I'm not complaining about that. Like, I get it. I guess I am sort of complaining about it, where I'm just like, dude, you seriously telling me that the only person who's, like, sane in this world is one green girl? That's it. And, like, maybe a dude who's been thinking a lot recently.
I'm so sorry.
You know what I mean, though? I sit there and I'm like, this is it. It's just these two. Like, even the wizard is a fucking crazy loon. Like, I know that he's supposed to be crazy, but he's also an idiot. He's not even smart about what he's trying to do.
Right.
Which is fair. I get it. It's a criticism of everything. But I'm like, oh my God. I think that this is the things that like frustrate me about like Alice in Wonderland and The Wizard of Oz, the OG one. Everyone is crazy, and like the only people who can see it are like 14-year-old girls who like come in and they're like, whoa. I'm like, what is going on? Why is it a 14-year-old girl? I guess that's fine, but it's weird. It's like, but it's all built on that same, it's built around that same era of government criticism and stuff. And like, it's a style, I think. I don't know. It's just odd to me. That's what I got on that one. Mm-hmm. So.
We'll circle back to that after you see the second half.
Yeah. I'm curious. I feel like there's almost no critical thinking that's going on in this world. And that is frustrating to me.
Yeah, but again, I just even to me that feels very reflective of where we are right now.
Even Alphaba is barely doing any critical thinking. She's doing a lot of gut reaction and defying gravity. You know,
there's a lot of that. And
she's also like deep into the propaganda train.
Right.
She was red pilled hard for a hot minute there.
Or green pilled.
Oh. She was green pilled and then she was red pilled.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's kind of. And I know that that's like all supposed to be like satirical. It's supposed to be like satirical characters who like do exaggerated things. But I don't
know that it's supposed to be satirical. It's more like allegorical or like representative.
Yeah, allegorical characters.
You're finding rather than it's not a story about a resistance group. It's a story about one person or two people realizing that they've been complacent with propaganda and been fed propaganda.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be a story of a group of resistance fighters. That's not to say that doesn't exist in Oz somewhere. That's not the story that's being told.
I guess the thing that's frustrating to me, and I don't know why this is, maybe there's a deeper meaning to this, but like that just does not resonate with me at the same level. Maybe that's because I'm a white dude. I don't like just having like one person realize a thing is not interesting in the same sense. It is interesting, but then like, I mean, I guess she does raise an army and stuff because she obviously has like the monkeys and things.
Yeah, you just need to like hold off. You don't
until
have
the second one.
You don't have all the facts.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, but I guess maybe I do need more resolution than I thought then.
Yeah, I mean, you have no resolution right now.
I know, but I just feel like I felt like things were resolved before, but I guess they're not. So
I will just say that we're going into a war.
Obviously.
Yeah, so I'm not sure.
And then a girl's going to throw a bucket of water on this person. And then problem solved. For the bad, it seems.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what else? Hold on. This is also interesting. This is interesting. Okay?
The way you said that and pointed at me was like, I'm going to say it. I don't care that you broke your elbow.
No, I know. Okay. So obviously, like, this is based off of a book series that's a complicated world sort of a thing, and it's weird and all this stuff, okay? But as someone who hasn't read the books and has only seen The Wizard of Oz, I am a little... And like, in The Wizard of Oz, Alphaba is evil in the movie, which I know is propaganda by Oz or whatever. But, like, she's clearly trying to murder a little girl, okay? That is her goal. And like, that's my understanding of her character. And I'm a little kind of tired of the misunderstood villain trope because it's like, nah, bro, she's evil. Like, that's my understanding coming from a man who has not read the books.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
There's been other things that we've seen that are like this, where it's like, no, they were actually really good people and they were misunderstood. And like, they didn't really do any bad things.
I know we've seen that, but I can't think of another example at the moment.
But I'm sorry. It's just kind of like, it gets back to one of those things where it's like, this is a really extreme example, but it's like, oh, if Hitler could have just like been a really like gotten accepted into art school, he would have been a really nice guy, and like he was just really mad. And it's like, nah, bro, he was anti-Semitic piece of shit who killed 6 million people. Like, I'm like, we can't sympathize with these guys.
Right.
Like,
right.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, obviously very different cases. One is real, one is fiction. One is
right. This is a good example. It's like Thanos and Marvel, where people are like, nah, bro, he was right. And I'm like, he tried to murder half the universe. Like, we cannot sit here.
For a while, he succeeded.
I know.
In murdering
I know. I'm like, we cannot sit here and be like, actually, pretty cool dude. Oh, no, people who venerate, like, Anakin Skywalker, it's like he's just a misunderstood guy. He was in love with the girl.
Those are the same women that get prison boyfriends.
And it's like, no, exactly, dude. It's like the guy that goes up, shoots up a school, and then they write a letter to the guy, and they're like, oh, I love him. And it's like, no, you don't. He's a murderer.
Right.
He killed children.
Younglings.
As he covers his mouth to try not to laugh.
I will say that, like, Alphaba's... I guess she was trying to kill Dorothy, but really she just wanted the slippers. And Dorothy did kill her sister. Like, that's kind of the whole point where this premise is the house fell on her sister. All she wanted was those slippers, but they ended up on Dorothy's feet. And she was just like, give me my shoes that my sister had.
You know what? I just made the connection to the slipper thing with her sister.
Yeah.
I did not realize that was her sister that the house fell on. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
So I am like, I mean, I hear what you're saying.
What happened to the wheelchair then? Did she walk?
Part 2.
Wow.
Part 2.
Guess she walks.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Or the wheelchair was just also crushed underneath her. Anyway, all I'm saying is, like, those are very definitive cases where, yes, net bad happened. I think that it's easier to say, like, maybe she was misunderstood. I mean, Dorothy's house did kill her sister, and Glinda was like, look at this child witch that smashed a house on your sister and then stole her shoes that were apparently your mother's shoes. You know, like, not that violence against children is ever okay, obviously. But I'm just saying, like, I think that there is more of a case to be made that, like, hey, maybe something else was happening in the background than some of the examples that you've brought up.
I mean, that's
just
fair,
now.
I guess. I mean, it's been a hot minute since, I did just make the connection to the shoes. I did.
That are featured very prominently.
I know. I totally forgot about the shoes, bro. They literally show the shoes, and they're like, oh, these are your mother's shoes. That's fair enough, but I am kind of like, there's two tropes that I'm sick and tired of in Hollywood. It's the bad guy good and the superhero tropes. Just anything with superheroes at this point. I'm about ready to boycott Marvel.
I will say I am fairly over the retelling. Oh, so Matthew knows this, but I'll share.
I'm done with the live action shit.
Hello? Who's... Yeah, that's what I thought. So for, like, Halloween, I wanted kind of a spooky book, and so I found a retelling of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow told from Katarina von Tassel's perspective, and it just, oh man, it was painful. The idea that, like, every story needs to be retold from the woman's perspective and to give it an empowering feminist spin. It's fun when it's done well. I really do like that kind of thing. Circe is a great example. Circe's a great example of that by Madeline Miller. But then you get, like, a bunch of oversaturation in that market, and you finally are just like, we get it, man. We get it.
Yeah.
I don't need this for every, like...
No.
Every single person...
No.
...that ever existed in any kind of story, you know?
Yeah.
I think that there was a bit of a movement kind of like that after Wicked. Retelling of, like, fairy tales through the evil person's perspective.
No, there definitely was. Yeah.
Yeah, there was, like, a moment where that became very popular.
Yeah.
Popular. But, yeah, I just, I don't know. You seem to have more strong feelings about that than I do. But, again, I know how the story goes. I know, like,
right. I think that's
I know more than you.
Tell me, have they finished filming the second part? Was this all filmed at the same time, or are we going to have to wait, like, 3 fucking years?
No, it's going to come out in a year.
Oh,
we just have to wait a year.
A whole year?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Can they just release it like 6 months from now?
I wish.
Holy shit.
You don't know the bangers that we're waiting for, but there's some kick-ass bangers. Also,
all the songs I know seem to happen in this one.
I will say I got choked up a couple times in just this first part. The For Good motif played at one point, and I was just like immediate tears. So part 2 should be real fun. I think I might have to bring tissues, to be honest.
Okay.
I'm more saying that for our audience members who know the story than for you.
Yeah, I'm not going to cry.
That's fine.
You know what I did cry in, though?
You've never known the epic highs and lows of high school football.
It's true. You know what I did cry in, though?
What?
Wild Robot Man. That shit broke my heart.
I cried during the conclave.
Yeah, sure. Anyways, good film.
What would you rate it out of 10?
Like a 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think mine was like an 8.5, maybe even a 9.
See how we did a fun switcheroo from last episode?
Ooh, yeah. Well,
wow. We planned that on purpose.
You are Catholic as I am theater kid.
Theater kid. Yeah, exactly. Two sides of the same coin, really.
Ooh, yeah,
in
the pomp and
relationship.
pageantry.
Yeah. So
Mine has better music.
yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with you there. The Catholics have really been off their game since about the 11th century. So, it's fine.
Weak, although
Yeah.
the Mass of St. Anne does go pretty hard,
Okay.
in my opinion, if done correctly.
Fair enough. You got me there.
What was
Got
your
me there.
favorite song?
I guess popular because it's catchy.
Oh, yeah.
But I think I would have said Defying Gravity if it would have been like the musical and there wasn't a 5-minute talking interlude in the middle that broke it up.
Well, the musical actually does have a bit of an interlude that breaks
Is
it
it
up.
that
and
long?
No.
Right.
But none of those interludes are that long. The musical does not have that time to spare.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
But I will say,
I think my whole point for everything was that I appreciate the faster pace of a musical in the theater than I do in a movie.
mm-hmm.
Because I feel like it just doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't, yeah. Anyways.
I felt like Defying Gravity was one of the really good examples of a lack of emoting in your vocal performance, because in that interlude and in the recording, she's like, "Don't hurt her. She's not the one you want. It's me." And then it switches very obviously where she's like singing and it's very smooth and it's not jagged and raw.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I don't know, let your characters have emotion at the expense of sounding not as good or less than perfect. Less than perfect is still great.
Yeah.
And I think it transcends a perfect vocal performance if it's done for the sake of emotion. And that was kind of my big takeaway was you've got to know when to let yourself kind of like look ugly if you're performing and sound ugly if it expands your performance.
I think it's funny that you said that because there was the whole controversy about the fucking poster.
Yeah.
Where
yeah. Take away the eyes.
You know what's funny is like from what I've seen of her in real life, I think that Cynthia Erivo is batshit fucking crazy. It seems, but in her performance is amazing. As a professional, she's really good.
Well, isn't that just the tale as old as time, though?
It is.
I
Yeah.
mean, look at Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Yeah. Good times.
Yeah, I really can't wait for part 2.
No, I had a good time going.
I fully want to do a Dune 1, Dune 2, where we watch the part 1 again before part 2
That's fair.
comes back out in theaters.
Yeah, that's very fair.
I hope they figure out the mixing because it was too soft.
We should see it in like IMAX next time.
Or the
something.
Dolby sound.
Yeah, or Dolby
That would be fun.
Theater. Yeah, something like that. Because I think seeing it in a normal theater does not do it justice, honestly.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. It's kind of like, you know what? It's weird because we saw Mean Girls in Dolby.
Yeah.
And somehow that was a better experience than what I think most people had because it's Dolby.
Yeah, well,
So-
we sing Dolby's praises here.
Yeah, no, I know. Although I will say that Dune did kick ass in IMAX compared to Dolby. So
Okay.
that's just me, though. Good
Oh.
times.
We didn't even get to talk about the costumes
Oh, I kind of thought that was in with the
with the
color
sets.
stuff that you were saying.
Yeah. I mean, they were gorgeous.
I thought it was good.
Yeah. So like Fiero's costume looked very different from the stage version.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and Bach's costume looked very different.
It's a little munchkin boy.
Yeah, he looked cookie crazy. I leaned over at one point and said that is the ugliest sweater I've ever seen in my entire
And
life.
it was a very ugly sweater. It was really bad. The sweater was atrocious.
Yeah, painfully bad.
Yep.
So good on you,
Mm-hmm.
costume designer, inflicting maximum pain to.
Do you like how we end these podcasts like we're from the Midwest? Because we are from the Midwest.
Oh yeah.
We're just like we've said
Oh.
goodbye like 7 times, but it hasn't
I'm gonna
ended yet.
scooch past you and just turn off the
Oh,
recording.
excuse me here. We're like down the
Oh, I
driveway.
left my casserole dish.
Yeah, right now we're at the car at the end of the driveway.
We're
We
gonna
haven't
be
left
here
yet.
another 45 minutes, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Like we have to finish up a few more things.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Anyways.
So I just didn't want to leave anything out.
No, that's fair.
Oh, end credits.
Oh shit. Yeah.
They were okay.
Honestly, not bad.
Yeah, they had like that weird little light to it that I liked, and then they went into kind of like a vaudeville screen card thing, which I enjoyed.
I'm gonna be honest. I was almost falling asleep at the end credits, not because I was
it was
bored,
just
but
late.
because I was just like, God, I'm tired.
It was very late, and we've been enforcing an earlier bedtime, which we're breaking tonight too. Breaking
I know to
all
film
the
this.
rules for Wicked.
You better be happy and rate this 5 stars.
But I couldn't be happier.
Yeah.
You don't know that yet, but you will.
Oh, okay.
In about a year.
I wish it was 6 months, but
I wish it were tomorrow.
here we are. Okay.
More Jonathan Bailey.
Yeah. Fair enough. You got me there.
I think that's where we'll leave it.
Okay. Well, we'll see you next time. Probably Gladiator.
Gladiator 2?
Gladiator 2, baby. Have you seen Gladiator 1?
No, I got to do that first.
Yeah, I probably need to rewatch Gladiator 1. This is a fun Gladiator 1 thing, okay? And then we'll end it for real. Because I saw this on TikTok. So, in Gladiator 1, this is a spoiler for anyone who cares. His wife gets burned to death, okay? And
with the feet?
The feet thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you see how much slobber and spit he puts on those rubber feet, bro?
Yes, I did. Blech. I saw that clip too, and I was like,
I completely blocked that out of my memory.
Okay.
I completely blocked that out of my memory. And then it's
I
just like,
I did feel like
dude,
I was learning something personal about
what's his name?
Russell
Crowe. Russell Crowe. Yeah.
I did feel like that. I walked away being like,
Are you not detained?
I have some uncomfortable insights into you.
Yeah, right. It was bad.
Let's wrap it up.
Okay, wrapping it up. And we'll do another click. That's the end of the show. We'll see you next time, guys. Bye.